some noise for
Orange Juice in a Blunt.
Whoreson, the story of a ghetto pimp. She was in too much pain to notice that I'd left her heavy winter coat on the rack by mistake. The mistake had been made on purpose. I wanted the bank teller to be sure and see she was pregnant. Finally, we got ready to go. I had to just about carry her down the stairs. I began to have doubts about her holding up long enough for us to make it to a bank. At no time did I even think about taking her to a hospital or doctor. I wanted the money before the bank could be notified. There was another stop I had to make before going to the bank. I parked in a no-standing zone and rushed into a drugstore. I bought a pair of round-rimmed glasses and some pain pills. The eyeglasses she put on. The pills she couldn't swallow without water, and I didn't have the time to stop and get any. Driving towards the outskirts of town, I searched frantically for a branch office bank. I finally found one near the city limits. By this time, Boots seemed nearly delirious. Her legs were stretched out towards me, while her head was against the door. When I shook her, she didn't wake up completely. I got out of the car and picked up a handful of slush. Opening the car door on her side, I held her head and washed her face with dirty snow. She sputtered and spit, but the ice shocked her awake. "Listen, baby," I whispered. "You gonna have to be kinda sharp now. I done told you a dozen times how to do this and how simple it is." I had to help her out of the car. "All you got to do is fill out a withdrawal slip, give it to the teller, and get big bills." "You going with me, Daddy?" she asked, clutching my shoulder for support. "You know I am, baby. You don't think I'd send you by yourself, do you?" I said. I hadn't planned on going in with her, but a blind man could see she would never make it herself. I steered her through the bank entrance. While she filled out the slip, I arranged her coat so that her protruding stomach couldn't help but be seen. It's a belief of mine, I don't know if it's true or not, that people will never suspect pregnant women of a hoax. The mother image is so strong that most people wouldn't imagine a woman in this condition swindling anyone, let alone them. The only doubt I had after entering the bank was when the teller picked up the phone. The only reason I didn't run was that my hands were full trying to keep Boots on her feet. She had put most of her weight on me, and I was really holding her up. When I turned back towards the bank teller, she was already talking on the phone. If I ran, I would have to drag Boots, 'cause she was holding on to me for dear life. The teller hung up and smiled. She started counting out the money. To be fair to the lady whose money I was taking, I left $50 in the bank. Back in the car, I just about got Boots settled before she passed out. I pulled out into traffic and drove back towards town as fast as I dared. I still hadn't learned to drive too well, and not having a license, the last thing I wanted was to be stopped. I spotted a doctor's office on the other side of the street. Making a U-turn, I pulled up in front of the building. Some kind of way I got her half awake so she could stand on her feet if I held her, and I managed to get her into the doctor's office. The receptionist took one look at me holding Boots up and rushed into another room. The white patient sitting around the room stared at us curiously. It wasn't long before she was back, followed by a bald-headed fat man. He was blowing as though he had just run a mile. He tossed his hands in the air. "No, no, no. You must take her to her own gynecologist. Better yet, take her to an obstetrician. But this is the wrong place, young man." I was dumbfounded. I hadn't understood much of what he said, but I did comprehend wrong place. "You're a doctor, ain't you?" I asked belligerently. The doctor stared at me as though I were losing my mind. "I'm a dermatologist," he yelled. "Didn't you read the sign outside?" Boots slipped out of my arms and fell on the floor at my feet. The doctor looked as if he were going to have the baby. The nurse rushed to a telephone, while the doctor and I raved. I pulled my large roll of money out. Behind all I heard and knew of white people, I knew this would get results. "Look, Doc," I started to say, "I'll pay—" The doctor raised his hands toward heaven, spoke for a few moments in another language, then said, "I don't want your money. I'm a